And Hong Kong's Chief Executive Carrie Lam has condemned the violence that's continuing to plague the city. Mrs. Lam says the trouble has far exceeded protester demands for democracy and the government will not cave in. The past 12 hours has been chaotic with more than 60 people injured. At least one protester has been shot by a police officer, sparking heated clashes that spilled into the business district and onto several university campuses. Now, for more analysis of today's events in Hong Kong, we're joined by political analyst Professor Joseph Cheng. Professor, Carrie Lam doubling down, in effect, on her criticism of protesters and the increasing use of violence. What's your take on her comments today?
Well, she simply maintains her hawkish stand, stating that there will be no concessions and no reconciliation process. She has even refused to set up an independent commission of inquiry. Certainly, her position has been backed by Beijing. She was recently received by the top leader Xi Jinping in Shanghai, who highly praised her performance. And subsequently, Chinese officials responsible for Hong Kong, like Zhang Xiaoming, head of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, again has repeated the hardline, indicating that Hong Kong should even introduce the Article 23 legislation, the anti-subversion law, very soon. So this attitude comes as no surprise to Hong Kong people.
Yeah, but Professor Cheng, with this hawkish stance, she said today that her priority is to actually end the violence. How can this actually be done, perhaps at this point? Because it seems that, violence is, increasing at this point.
Exactly. That is why people in Hong Kong do not see the light at the end of the tunnel. You cannot end a political crisis simply by cracking down without initiating a reconciliation process. For example, she no longer talks about a dialogue with the community, or to listen to Hong Kong people in the most humble and sincere manner and so on. And there's just emphasis of terminating violence. But opinion polls indicate that 52% of Hong Kong people believe that the major responsibility lies with the government. 18% thinks that the major responsibility lies with the police. And only 9.3% of Hong Kong people believe that the protesters should bear the major responsibility.
Well, given the dramatic escalation of violence today in broad daylight and in the CBD, what's the sentiment on the ground?
People feel very sad, very frustrated, and they realize that the tragic death of a student protester announced last Friday probably has generated a new escalation of violent clashes. Police have fired more real bullets. They have entered university campuses, and in broad daylight on a weekday, you have tear gas in the central business district. And all these take place in the context of the Chinese authorities backing the Carrie Lam administration to adopt a hardline, refusing reconciliation and concentrating on cracking down.
So saying that, what are the implications then for business confidence in Hong Kong?
Business confidence is actually weak, although people do not talk about this openly. Many middle-class families, especially those with young children, are seriously thinking of planning emigration. And even in terms of risk management on the part of major corporations, certainly they will find it prudent to move at least 20–30% of the investment out of Hong Kong, simply in the broad context of spreading risk and managing risks.
Professor, one last question for you. Are they just going to be getting worse from here, do you see?
It will probably be a long-term, drawn-out political struggle. At least as far as the pro-democracy movement is concerned, it is quite prepared for a long-term, peaceful, non-cooperation campaign to demonstrate the lack of legitimacy on the part of the Carrie Lam administration and the fact that you cannot govern effectively in this manner.
All right, many thanks for your thoughts this evening, Professor Joseph Cheng. speaking to us from Hong Kong.
Thank you.